It was a typical evening, the gentle hum of the house settling into the stillness of the night. I was alone, nestled in the comfort of my living room, engrossed in a book. But then, cutting through the silence, came the unmistakable sound of footsteps, soft and deliberate, echoing in the hallway. My heart leaped to my throat as I froze, the book slipping from my trembling hands. 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. Had I left a window open? Was someone else in the house? But I was certain I had locked the doors, leaving me in a state of anxious confusion. The seconds stretched on, each one punctuated by the rhythmic thud of footsteps growing nearer. With a surge of adrenaline, I mustered the courage to tiptoe toward the hallway. There was nothing, no one in sight, just the faint echo of my own heart pounding in my ears. I chastised myself for my overactive imagination, convinced I had conjured the noise in my heightened state of alertness. But then, as I turned to retreat back to the living room, my eyes fell upon a scene that shattered my fragile reassurance. My belongings, once neatly arranged, were now haphazardly scattered across the floor, like a chaotic jigsaw puzzle. The room felt foreign, my sense of security stripped away in an instant. Panic welled up within me as my gaze landed on a piece of paper lying on the coffee table. It was a note. Brief and chilling, its message enough to freeze my blood. Alone but not forgotten, it read, the words etched in dark ink that seemed to mock my vulnerability. Fear clenched at my chest, the realization dawning that I was not alone. An intruder had infiltrated my home, leaving behind a twisted calling card. With trembling hands, I retreated to my room, barricading the door and clutching my phone as if it were a lifeline. The minutes dragged on, each one heavy with the weight of uncertainty. Finally, with my heart still racing, I called the police, my voice shaky as I recounted the unsettling events that had unfolded. The arrival of the authorities brought a strange mix of relief and trepidation. They scoured the house, piecing together the evidence of the intrusion. Fingerprints were lifted, photographs taken, and statements recorded. And as the night waned into dawn, a sense of vulnerability lingered, overshadowed by the knowledge that someone out there had targeted me, had violated my sense of security. Days later, after the initial shock had subsided, I learned the truth. The police had identified the intruder, a person with a history of instability and erratic behavior. The unsettling realization that a stranger had been so close, that they had walked the same halls as me, left me with a lingering unease. The experience served as a haunting reminder that safety can be shattered in an instant, and the shadows that lurk just beyond our perception can hold the most chilling of secrets. So, there I was, just another ordinary evening spent alone in my house. The TV played softly in the background, casting flickering shadows across the walls as I settled into the comfort of my own space. But then, out of nowhere, came a knock, a sharp, insistent sound that pierced through the quiet of the night. My heart skipped a beat, my body freezing in that moment as my mind raced to process the unexpected intrusion. Who could it be at this hour? I approached the door cautiously, peering through the peephole to catch a glimpse of the figure outside. My breath caught in my throat as I saw them, a figure standing on my doorstep, their face obscured by a menacing mask. Fear gripped me, and I stepped back, praying that they hadn't seen me. But that hope was shattered as their knocking grew more forceful, like a pounding drumbeat that echoed in my ears. The figure's muffled voice reached my ears, a low and chilling tone that demanded entry, accompanied by threats that made my blood run cold. I stood there paralyzed by fear, my mind racing through possible courses of action. My instincts screamed at me to stay quiet, to not engage with this dangerous stranger, to do whatever it took to protect myself. The minutes stretched on like hours, the tension in the air thickening with each passing second. Finally, the knocking ceased, replaced by an eerie silence that hung in the air like a heavy fog. I stayed hidden, waiting, listening for any sign of movement outside. But as the moments ticked by, it became clear that the figure had retreated, leaving behind a haunting memory that would linger long after the night had passed. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone and dialed the emergency number, my voice shaking as I recounted the harrowing ordeal to the dispatcher on the other end. They assured me that help was on the way, and as I waited for the police to arrive, a mix of relief and anxiety swirled within me. When the authorities did arrive, They took my statement and investigated the area, searching for any clues that could lead them to the masked individual. It wasn't long before they had answers. As it turned out, the figure had been attempting to extort money from unsuspecting victims, using fear as a weapon to manipulate them. The police informed me that they had apprehended the masked individual before they could carry out their threats, and that knowledge brought a sense of closure to the unsettling encounter. But even as the case was resolved, I couldn't shake the feeling that my sense of security had been irreparably shattered. The knock on the door had been a stark reminder that danger could be lurking just beyond the threshold, a reminder that would stay with me long after the night had ended. It was one of those quiet nights that make you appreciate the simple comforts of your home. The soft glow of the lamp illuminated the room, casting a warm ambiance that wrapped around me like a cozy blanket. With a content sigh, I settled into bed, ready to drift off into peaceful slumber. But then, cutting through the stillness of the night, I heard it, a faint tapping on the window pane. At first, I brushed it off as a trick of the wind, a branch perhaps, swaying against the glass. But as the seconds ticked by, the tapping grew more insistent, more deliberate, like an urgent call for attention. I hesitated, my heart beginning to quicken as I pulled back the curtain. There, in the dim moonlight, I saw it, a figure standing just beyond the window, its presence cloaked in shadow. My breath caught in my throat, and I could feel the weight of its gaze, fixated on me with a chilling intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Panic surged within me, and I stumbled back from the window, my mind racing with a jumble of thoughts. Who could it be? What did they want? The rational part of me urged that it might be a simple case of mistaken identity, but the unease that settled in my gut told a different story. Clutching my phone, I considered calling the police, my fingers trembling as I debated whether to take action. With a deep breath, I dialed the emergency number, my voice betraying my anxiety as I explained the situation to the dispatcher on the line. They assured me that help was on the way, but each second that passed felt like an eternity as I waited in the suffocating silence of my room. Finally, the distant wail of sirens pierced the night, a symphony of reassurance that cut through my fear. I peered out the window once more, my heart in my throat, as the flashing lights revealed the figure still lurking outside. It wasn't long before the police arrived, their presence bringing a strange mix of relief and trepidation. I watched from the safety of my home as they apprehended the figure, their movements methodical and precise. With a jolt, I realized that the person they were leading away in handcuffs was not a stranger. It was someone I had seen before, a name I recognized from news reports. An escaped criminal with a history of violence, a person with a sinister reputation that sent a chill down my spine. As the police took charge of the situation, I felt a mixture of emotions: relief, fear, gratitude. The tapping on the window had shattered the illusion of safety I had woven around myself, a stark reminder that danger could breach even the most secure spaces. And as I reflected on the night's events, I couldn't help but wonder what might have transpired if I hadn't called for help, if I hadn't been vigilant in the face of the unknown.